Good everyone, and welcome to today's video, and today is a review on the American Ki-43-II Oscar. Now, I've had this thing for a little bit of time, and I've been working on the plane itself. Obviously the marker distinction. I haven't fully finished it yet, but I'll get around to finishing it. I've only got about 20,000 RP left to go. Yeah, just under 22,000. It's actually been a lot of fun flying this thing, and, well, normally I'd wait. Well, in fact, I am going to wait till the end, but there are a couple of things you're going to want to know about this aircraft before you buy it. Number one, you still have the 50 cals from the Japanese Ki-43-II Oscar. Number two, your engine is exactly the same. Nothing changes on the aircraft, it is simply copy-paste. Number three, this thing catches a lot of players off guard, but at the same time, a lot of players will go for you. That's one thing I've noticed. I've noticed a lot more players like to attack me in this thing. Even, well, in fact, not Japanese players. For some reason, BF-109s like to target me. However, the Ki-43 Oscar is more than a match for the BF-109s if you know how to fly it. And another thing, with it being a Japanese aircraft, just because it's painted in American colours doesn't mean it gained any additional benefits. You still have the non-self-sealing fuel tanks, which are very vulnerable to fires. You still have the weak airframe overall, because obviously it's a light aircraft. There are a couple of things that you need to take into account of this aircraft. One, the high-speed lockup is pretty bad. Its roll is very weird, and it tends to not roll on its center axis very much when at above about 320 miles an hour. Another thing is that low-speed maneuvering fights are not advised. Below about 150 miles per hour, you are going to struggle to outturn even a BF-109. So that's one thing to take into account. Then, of course, when it comes to ground pounding, with it being an capture premium, you do not have the bombs on it. This is the same story for the Hitler Bolt. However, the Stalin Bolt has bombs because it was fitted with bomb racks. The German Hitler Bolt was not. And this plane is exactly the same. It was not fitted with bomb racks, and it was captured without bomb racks. So that to me makes sense. So you're gonna lose your two 250-kilogram bombs at most. But to be honest, I don't tend to use Ki-43s in ground forces with Japan anyway. So either way, I don't see it as much of a drawback. That may be your own opinion, however. So performance-wise, this aircraft can keep up with most of its fighters at its own BR. It can outturn pretty much anything other than a biplane. However, you will be fighting Heinkel 100s and BF-109 E1s. The E1s you can match in most situations. The 100s will outspeed you. That is their only advantage, as well as maybe firepower, but even then the firepower is actually pretty good on this aircraft. With the recent changes to Japanese guns, they have received a bit of a buff. Default hasn't changed. Universal hasn't changed. But air targets and stealth have. These rounds are now HI or HEI, High Explosive Incendiary. They're not the most powerful, but once they get an unarmored area such as a engine, maybe even the cockpit of an aircraft, they are devastating. And the APT rounds are even more devastating. They only have 18 millimeters of penetration, but they are pretty much guaranteed to get you a pilot snipe if you get it on target. This fight, though, that I have and I'm going to show you today, this perfectly shows the weaknesses, the strengths, and everything else about the Ki-43-II. But before we begin, do I recommend buying this plane? Well, to be honest, I'm actually going to say yes. However, if you are not, well, in fact, this is an if you are not. If you just don't like flying on allied teams, don't even bother, because you will fight on nothing but allied teams against Germans and Japanese and Italians. However, if you're a more experienced pilot and you like fighting on allied teams for some weird reason, jokes aside, yeah, this is a perfectly good aircraft, and obviously it will match anything it meets comfortably. And if a team killer tries to get onto you, you will kill them in a maneuvering fight. Simple fact. I had a team killer attempt in a P400, and all I did was just run rings around him and shoot him down. He tried turn fire with me. He thought it was some kind of American aircraft which you could match the turn with, but this thing just ran rings around it and I shot him down. But anyway, less of my blabbering, let's get into the replay and I can show you the strengths, the weaknesses, and some of the hidden characteristics about this aircraft. But obviously losing the bomb racks is really no concern to me, because obviously I'm flying this thing in RB. But there has been situations where I would like the bomb racks in, well, on the plane, but obviously it wasn't fitted with them historically, it didn't have them historically, because it was captured without them, so I can kind of understand. So I'm actually top dog in this battle, which I found quite surprising. We have a couple of Nimrods, we have Swordfish as well, we have a couple of pea shooters, and we only have, I believe, two 2.0 aircraft. Whilst the Germans have 1, 2, they have 2 as well. I think Grezapot, or Gerzapot, or however you say that, I think he spawns in an E1, I don't remember. Nope, it's a BA-65. So, pretty good mix in terms of teams and all that. And obviously, in my perspective now, the cockpit doesn't change, so if you're a sim pilot, yeah, you're going to like this thing. But at the same time, do take into account there are idiots who might misidentify you as an Oscar and shoot you down, thinking that you're enemy. But yeah, I've been really enjoying this aircraft. Like I say, it's just been one of those planes. Even in a 3.0 up tier, I don't mind it. And I mean, well, my team has some poor sod in the Kingfisher, but other than that, this battle's going to go pretty both ways. I mean, this battle's actually pretty dang good. Both teams did well, both teams got down to the wire, but in the end, my team managed to pull this out of the bag. Now, for some reason, we do have a pilot named Pedro67879, and I know for a fact this is not Pedro Lopez, because if it is, mate, what are you doing in an SP2U2 doing this to a JU88? But I don't think it's you, mate. I'm just taking the piss. But I have no idea why this guy's trying this. He's got a full payload on, and he's just engaging this JU88. I'm climbing up to the side, I don't care. I'm ignoring these lot. But he's just going to sit here and just do this. I have no idea why. At this point, however, I've decided, well, there's quite a few ground attackers down here, and I don't really want to lose any more tickets. Obviously, here comes a Stuka, who is absolutely diving like a boss, and I could tell he was skin grinding. He has the winter camo on. You need quite a lot of ground targets to get that skin. So I decided, since he was the better pilot out of all these lot, I decided to target him. But so did the Hurricane Mark IV. Now there you can see the center axis roll that I was on about. It does not like rolling down its own center axis above certain speeds. Around about 270, I would say. But otherwise, this thing's one of the best dancers at the ball. There you can see the Hurricane trying to get in and take the kill, even though I've already critted this guy. The Hurricane just keeps overshooting, not using his energy wisely. I pump more rounds into the Stuka, and he is going to go down just now. First kill. Then I spot this BA-65, I pull it vertical to make sure he can't get to me. The Oscar performs very well in the vertical. And well, you can see here, it just loops around, no problem whatsoever. It is just one of the most maneuverable aircraft I've ever flown in War Thunder. For a monoplane, it just turns like a biplane. So that there on that BA-65 is going to be my second kill for the game. And down he goes. Now the Japanese Ki-43 changes literally nothing except the bomb racks, as I mentioned. Do I recommend flying the Japanese Ki-43? Hell yes, because then you get to fight idiots who have no idea what they're doing half the time. And you can slaughter them. And you get bomb racks, so if you want to use it tank RB, go ahead. Although it's very vulnerable to ground fire, so bear that in mind. At this point, a P-26 just crashed, so I put in chat Bravo, as I usually do. I just use the radio commands. It's far easier. At this point, I go back to altitude. Altitude isn't really necessary in this plane, however, I still advise it. Now at this point, I'm actually checking stat cards. Why am I doing that? Well, you've just seen there in chat, Condor 12 Bud, I decided he was the best target to go for. Reason for that, he's in an E1 and I believe he was stat padding. Yes, he is. He is stat padding. As you can tell, he's not very good in the plane. Yeah, he could barely scrape a 2-to-1 kill death ratio. But either way, I decided he was the more important target. This is the thing about flying the Ki-43-II on the American side. You do have to consider your targets wisely. The Ki-43 will easily keep up with a 109 in most, well, in fact nearly all maneuvers. I learnt that almost the hard way though, because I didn't have enough energy to keep up with a 109 once in a store climb. He nearly had me, but I scored a crit on his engine and that was the end of him. But obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the center axis roll is not great. Obviously I'm approaching the speed where it will kick in. And here comes Condor 12 Bud. Obviously he's broken off from his team. And obviously I'm deciding at this point, yep, this guy's the most important target, let's go for him. Checking around me, making sure everything's all good. And as you can see, the Ki-43 can just keep up with him no matter what. I throttled back, turned inside of him like nothing. The elevator authority on this aircraft is insane. It just runs rings around anything it sees almost. Like, biplanes you will not be able to, but even then, you'll give him a hard time. Your HE rounds will not do the most damage. That's one thing to take into account. You'll see here, obviously I've crit this guy at the moment. He's running for the airfield like a typical coward. But it's not going to matter. In he goes. Third kill. Doing pretty well for myself, aren't I? But don't worry, it's going to get a lot more hair-raising. So obviously Condor 12 Bud is now at the fight, and I'm thinking, well, I ain't got much ammo left, I only had about 100 rounds, if I remember rightly. And I'm thinking, whatever, I had about 50 rounds. So I think, right, time to return to base, let's see what we can do. One other thing I forgot to mention about this aircraft is the roll rate. The roll rate is insane. It rolls like a Pokewolf. I decided with my measly 54 rounds, I'll have a crack at the Ju-88, but it's severely unlikely that I'll kill him. However, clearly, American bias was on my side. He puts down his landing gear, he's going for a landing on a C point for some bloody reason. And there we go, 4th kill, that's the last of my ammo. Like I said, the 500 rounds that you get in this aircraft go just like that. It is just very rapidly firing. The guns are 700 rounds a minute. In fact, no, they're 900 rounds a minute, if I remember rightly. They fire very quickly. You don't get a lot of time on target, so you've got to bear that in mind. And obviously, some aircraft will resist the HE rounds. Sometimes the HE rounds won't work at all. The AP rounds won't do much, and the tracer round is basically useless. If you want to try, well, in fact, another belt I recommend trying is stealth. I haven't tried stealth though. I might do it whilst I'm finishing off the aircraft's mark of distinction, and then I'll put a pin comment and say if stealth rounds are better than the air targets rounds. If I had to have a guess, I would say yes, but obviously leading and all that, things like that. Well, that's me done blabbering for a bit. Let's get ourselves landed. The Oscar's landing flaps make it want to basically climb back into the sky. I don't recommend using flaps on landing. Just turn and turn and turn, drain your energy, then drop your gear and just land it that way. It's just quicker. Obviously don't do what the 262 pilots do and land it on its wings, because they will snap off and you'll look like a twat. Okay, well, Fugasov is now obviously engaged in the BF-109B. For some reason, he decides to break off the H-75 instead of going for a climb, which he should have done because the H-75 is at low energy. For some reason, he's going to come my way. Clearly, he's spotted my nice shiny Ki-43-II, and he wants to fight. So I use the roll rate, I use the elevator authority, and I start making my way towards them. The only other player left on the team is that 111. I say to the H75, leave the 111, focus that 109. The 109 matters more in this situation. Now here's where the 109 pilot makes a bit of a mistake. He's got obviously less energy. What he should have done here is dove. I get some hits into him, but he keeps on going. I'm catching him. People think Japanese aircraft are slow. They are bloody not, especially this thing. And he pulls it vertical when I have the superior energy advantage. That was just silly. And that is my 5th kill. And there's your race. Not bad. I've only had 2 aces in this aircraft. The rest have been 3 to 4, sometimes even 2. I've not had a single 1 game though, which is odd, because normally I get at least 1 of those. But now I decide to go for some ground targets. Now, attacking ground targets in the Ki-43 can be done. However, obviously, the guns take quite a bit of ammo to get targets in terms of bullet damage. Obviously, these SPGs take next to no rounds to kill. That's why I'm firing short bursts at them. But the artillery tends to soak up quite a few hits. Now, what I recommend you do is, if you're on Essen, target the SPGs only, if you're going to go ground pounding. They barely take any ammo, and, well, yeah. Obviously, I've only got a bomber left to deal with. I'm not that fussed. So I might as well go for the targets that whatever gets in my gun sight, really. And here's the 2 artillery pieces lined up there. Get rid of those. And at this point, the game is pretty much over. Pop one last SPG, and that, when the pause button actually works, is that. So not a bad game, as I usually say. Pretty decent result for the aircraft. Like I say, if you've got 700 Golden Eagles lying around or a couple of GE wages, I would punch out for this aircraft. Just take into account allied teams. That's literally the only disadvantage I can see about this aircraft that will impede most players. Allied teams. And I have had a lot of bad allied teams fly this thing. But even then, I had one ultra solid game where I originally was just going to J out, but I ended up carrying the team to a 7-kill game victory. I'm not going to show that because that's hero level of stuff, and not only that, Jamonkey's got it. So, yeah. But yeah, if you're looking for a nice little premium just to have a little bit of fun in, maybe grind a bit tier 2, you've got your bird right here. This thing is perfectly capable of doing it. The Ki-61 in the American tree, I haven't flown that. In fact, this is 1,000 Golden Eagles, isn't it? Yeah, this is 1,000. Because I got this on a 75%, no, I got it on a 50% discount. The Ki-61 is 700. But yeah, this will be some of the more expensive premiums that I'm recommended to buy. But I still think you should pick up the Ki-43 over the Ki-61. Only reason why I say over the Ki-61 is because the Ki-61 gets 2 more guns, bit better performance, but it's a 3.3, where it shouldn't be. It should be at 3.0 or 2.7 in my opinion. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys off. I hope you enjoyed today's video on the Ki-43-II. Like I say, if you've got a spare 1,000 Gold Eagles or you're looking for something cheap in like GE wages, get this bird. She'll do you well. Catch you on the next one.